The central character in our story, Jason, is an average 18-year-old, casually hanging out and video chatting with his friend, who deals in illegal substances. His friend asks if Jason can receive a delivery at his place, and in his youthful nonchalance, Jason agrees. Meanwhile, we meet Jason's father, John Matthews, a dedicated owner of a construction company. After a long day at work, he notices one of his employees, Daniel, struggling to load cement sacks into a car. Despite his fatigue, John steps in and lends a hand, earning Daniel's gratitude. At Jason's house, a messenger arrives with a package. Jason eagerly opens it, only to find a camera and a stash of drugs inside. It dawns on him that he's stumbled into a police setup when he notices the camera. Fearing the worst, Jason makes a frantic attempt to escape, but the police are hot on his trail and eventually apprehend him. Meanwhile, John is at a social gathering when he receives an unsettling message from his ex-wife, Sylvie Collins. She informs him that their son, Jason, has been arrested for drug trafficking. Rushing to the police station, John meets his lawyer, Jay Price, and his ex-wife. Jay clarifies the situation. Jason wasn't involved in dealing drugs. Instead, his supposed friend set him up to reduce the severity of his own punishment. Jason faces serious charges that could lead to a minimum of 10 years behind bars. The only potential escape route seems to be persuading Jason to collaborate as bait to catch bigger players in the drug scene. John, consumed by guilt and fear for his son's safety, desperately tries to convince their attorney, Jay, that Jason is just an ordinary young man who fell in with the wrong crowd. However, Jay bluntly reveals the harsh reality. Jason's best chance at a lighter sentence hinges on helping the police catch more drug dealers since he was caught red-handed with a significant amount of drugs. As the wheels of justice turn swiftly, Jason finds himself in court where the judge advances his trial date, but orders him to remain incarcerated until then. John, Sylvie, and Jay gather to discuss Jason's options, attempting to persuade him to assist in taking down more drug dealers to reduce his prison time. Yet Jason stands firm, asserting that he doesn't have any knowledge of major figures in the drug trade. He only knows small-time crooks who do it casually, and if he exposes them, he'd essentially be destroying their lives just as he would his own. Leaving the meeting room, John feels a heavier weight of anxiety settling upon him each passing day. Leveraging his connections, John manages to arrange multiple meetings with Joanne Keegan, the local U.S. attorney, actively advocating against drugs as part of her congressional campaign. Pouring out every detail, including his son's dire situation, John earnestly pleads for help. However, Joanne dismisses his plea, citing Jason's substantial stash as evidence against leniency. Disheartened, John leaves her office, his spirits plummeting, and heads straight to the prison to see Jason. A shiver runs down John's spine as he witnesses Jason's deteriorating physical condition, marked by cuts and bruises from a brutal prison beating. Overwhelmed with emotion, Jason breaks down in tears, reminiscing about the happier times spent with his father. He confesses his uncertainty about enduring a decade in such a harsh environment where violence appears inevitable. Witnessing his son's anguish leaves John shattered, deeply troubled by the visit. Haunted by the sight of Jason's suffering, John takes a detour into the city's underworld, where drug deals unfold in shadowy corners. John devises a daring plan to locate drug dealers himself and hand them over to the police. However, his plan backfires miserably when the dealers subject him to a brutal beating, exposing his intentions. The police intervene at the last moment, saving John from the violent encounter. Joanne Keegan confronts John upon discovering his reckless mission, emphasizing that even if he had succeeded in capturing someone, it wouldn't have impacted Jason's case. John pleads desperately for any way to reduce his son's sentence. Finally, Joanne offers a glimmer of hope, placing a challenging condition. John must provide information on a significant dealer possessing a minimum of 1 kilogram of the substance. Only then would they consider leniency for Jason. Though apprehending a major drug lord won't be easy, John remains resolute. He mentions potential leads among his construction crew, a diverse mix of ex-convicts and recovering addicts. Reluctantly, Joanne agrees to reduce Jason's sentence in exchange for John successfully bringing in a dealer. However, it's clear she won't offer much assistance, leaving John to bear the entire risk. As John sifts through his staff files, searching for potential leads, John encounters Daniel James, a man with a history of drug use and 2 prior distribution charges. Daniel is currently striving to maintain sobriety while taking care of his wife and young son, aiming to steer clear of a 3rd offense. When John comes across Daniel finishing his work for the day, he offers him a ride home. However, They make a detour to a cafe where John broaches a delicate subject over coffee. Crafting a fabricated story about wanting to explore the drug trade, John asks Daniel to connect him with a major dealer to enter their circles. Daniel, taken aback by John's unexpected proposal, had viewed John as a sincere and hard-working individual. He asserts his determination to distance himself entirely from the drug world, striving to erase any remnants of it from his life. He firmly declines to assist John, emphasizing that he's already served 2 prison terms and desires a fresh start. John escalates the situation, offering Daniel $5,000 in exchange for introducing him to a powerful figure in the drug trade. However, Daniel staunchly refuses, unwilling to take the risk of facing a 3rd stint in prison. JN persists, emphasizing that it's merely an introduction, dramatically raising his offer to a substantial $220,000. Initially intent on leaving, Daniel's thoughts shift when he considers providing a safer environment for his son. Unaware that he's assisting an informant, Daniel agrees, driven by the desire for a better life for his child. Acting as an intermediary, Daniel connects John with Malik, a formidable local drug lord with 2 prior convictions. Given the economic struggles Daniel faces, coupled with the dire financial situation of his barely sustaining company, Malik is enticed by the prospect of smuggling an almost endless supply of drugs. John presents his case, emphasizing his legitimate role within the company and the fleet of freight trucks that could transport substantial cargo without drawing suspicion. Malik agrees, with the condition that both John and Daniel participate in driving on the initial run. Preparing for the operation, John and Agent Cooper install wiretaps, intending to capture evidence of all illegal transactions. As John and Daniel hit the road, heading towards El Paso, a short distance from the border, they rendezvous at an inconspicuous junkyard for the meetup. However, their smuggling strategy is scrutinized, raising questions about their approach. As they convene with the drug dealers, JN reveals his plan to hide the drugs within cement sacks. The tranquil setting of the junkyard abruptly transforms into a battlefield when the rival gang, Bajan Norte, launches an ambush. Bullets start flying, forcing John and Daniel to seek cover amid the chaos. Amidst the heated gunfight, they spot a potential escape route leading back to their truck, and without hesitation, they leap into it. John floors the accelerator, desperately maneuvering the truck out of the perilous situation. In the midst of the ongoing gang confrontation, they crash through scrapyard heaps, smash through the front gate, and collide with several parked cars, inadvertently revealing an undercover police officer hidden among them. Despite the chaos, John and Daniel daringly manage to escape with their truck loaded with contraband, defying the odds against them. Meanwhile, as Boer climbs the ranks within the cartel, he eventually gains an audience with Juan Carlos Pintera, a formidable figure. Boer impresses Malik with his bravery and audacious escape, earning growing respect within the cartel. Under the veil of darkness, John and Daniel return to John's factory, successfully securing the contraband and completing their mission against all odds. In an attempt to avoid any suspicions, John and Daniel swap cars. John informs Daniel that he needs a brief moment in the office, claiming he's going to the bathroom. But Daniel discovers John hunched over a phone, immediately triggering suspicion. Reacting swiftly, Daniel brandishes a gun, accusing John of betrayal and demanding answers about a potential wire. John, nervously trying to explain, assures Daniel that he was only making a call to his wife. Despite Daniel's doubts and lack of concrete evidence of deceit, he reluctantly releases John. Meanwhile, Agent Cooper tails them at a safe distance, closely monitoring their actions. As they resume their journey, John hands over the drugs to Malik under Cooper's vigilant observation. During the exchange, Malik casually mentions an upcoming meeting with influential cartel figures, presenting an opportunity for a more significant bust. Sensing the potential for a larger catch, Cooper decides against immediately arresting Malik, opting to keep the transaction under wraps for the time being. The next day, a furious John confronts Joanne Keegan, reminding her of their agreement. As tensions escalate, Agent Hooper steps in, suggesting that the failed arrest might have been intentional to target the more influential members of the cartel. Later that day, John decides to visit his son Jason at work. On his way, he notices his ex-wife Sylvie, anxiously waiting in the visitor's room. Unaware that Daniel is silently trailing him, Sylvie informs John that they won't be able to see Jason for at least 2 days. She reveals that Jason is in the infirmary, having received 36 stitches. An enraged Daniel confronts John upon his exit from the jail, demanding to know who he is. John, faced with Daniel's intense anger, discloses the truth. Learning the reality, Daniel becomes irrationally furious, warning John of the brutal consequences if the ruthless cartel discovers their betrayal, threatening the lives of their families without hesitation. Returning home, John finds his wife distraught, while Malik lounges casually by the swimming pool. Malik is aware of the cartel's pursuit of a meeting. When they finally reach the designated location, Malik is instructed to wait outside as John nervously enters the meeting alone, under the watchful eye of the intimidating cartel security. When John faces Juan Carlos Pintera, an ominous atmosphere fills the room. Pintera, in a chillingly composed manner, lays out a daunting task for John: to transport nearly $100 million of the cartel's drug earnings across the border to Mexico. Armed with this dangerous information, John swiftly informs Keegan and Cooper about the plan. While Keegan shows excitement about Pintera's potential arrest and the cartel's fallout, Cooper, cautious as ever, expresses concerns about John's safety. He believes the cartel intends to eliminate John once he completes the task. Despite Cooper's worries, John insists on a condition: Jason's immediate release after the assignment's completion. Initially hesitant, Keegan agrees to John's terms. Seeking counsel, John confides in Daniel at his home, revealing the gravity of their precarious situation. Together, they devise a daring plan to break free from the oppressive government and the ruthless cartel's grip. As John sets out on the mission, he executes a cunning maneuver, switching trucks to evade Cooper's surveillance on the initial truck. Upon reaching the cash pickup location, a cartel escort tails John. Meanwhile, Daniel undertakes his own perilous endeavor, breaking into Malik's house, engaging in a confrontation, and subduing his guards amidst the ensuing altercation. Malik, gravely injured and nearing death, discloses crucial information to Daniel: Pintera's cell phone number. This revelation holds the potential to alter their circumstances significantly. Determined to change the course of events, John contacts Cooper, urging him to track down Pintera's new phone using the number retrieved from Malik's pocket. With this move, John effectively handles the cartel's kingpin and the substantial drug haul. However, amidst this chaos, Jason, John's son, is exposed as an informant by the cartel and secretly imprisoned. As tensions rise, a frenzy ensues in a high-stakes highway chase. John, gripping his shotgun tightly, engages in a fierce exchange of gunfire with assailants. Despite being struck by a bullet in the leg amid the intense crossfire, he battles through the excruciating pain. In a desperate move, he manages to disable another attacker's vehicle, sending it careening off the highway as he navigates his truck through the perilous situation. Meanwhile, Cooper closes in on Pintera just as the DIA raids Pena's residence, only to find it empty. Pintera is already on the move, attempting to evade capture. Cooper swiftly assesses a passing vehicle, suspecting Pintera's attempt to escape. Moving swiftly, Cooper and his team encircle and block Pintera's vehicle, closing in on the kingpin. In a tense moment, the kingpin surrenders, realizing the futility of resistance, especially with his young son present. Meanwhile, John continues to be pursued by cartel members as they re-engage on the highway. Despite their success in shooting out John's tires, he refuses to yield. When a second attacker attempts to harm him, John retaliates, colliding his truck with the assailant's car, triggering a massive explosion. However, the confrontation leads to John losing control, causing his truck to roll over. Stunned and trapped, John prepares for the worst, attempting to reload his gun. But a wave of relief washes over him as he sees a figure approaching, the arrival of a DIA agent stepping in to offer assistance. As daybreak arrives, Jason is released from prison, swiftly enrolled in the witness protection program along with John's family, providing a sense of relief. However, Daniel makes a different choice, rejecting the offer of witness protection. Instead, he opts to go into hiding with his family on his own terms, seeking a path away from the dangers of their past.